playing with confidence. Serves it inside 50.
Inside 50, good hands.
Drilling it into centre half forward. That was end-to-end football at its best.
Back-to-back goals either side of quarter time.
But it's done with the Bulldogs!
I'd fight somebody for you. There ain't no wall I wouldn't run through. In your corner when we're ringing the bell. Come hell or high water. I'd fight somebody for you.
Yes, g'day WAFL fans. Welcome one and all to another edition of Around the WAFL off the back of what was a surprising round one of the ATCO WAFLW season for 2026. Why surprising? Because there were more boilovers than anything. Some shock wins for the likes of West Perth, Swan Districts and East Perth as well. And also the Freo Derby, which handed out plenty as far as the Bulldogs and the Sharks were concerned. We're going to recap all that for you here today on Around the WAFL. It's part of an amalgamation with the WA Sporting Hub, Front Row Screens and Associates on YouTube, and also on your podcast service. Paul Persick's my name. Great to have your company. And alongside me is Ethan Roth. One round in, and we've already seen some shocks.
Yeah, you put it well, Paul. It's great to be back, and yeah, a couple of shocks that we'll get into. So some early contenders, you could say, although we don't want to read too much into round one, but yeah, caught me by surprise with some of them.
Certainly did. It could mean an early sign for the rest of the season, but that is one round completed. Still a lot can happen. In just a moment, we're going to be speaking with Kat Bennett from the West Perth Football Club off the back of their great win over Subiaco on the weekend. Rothy's going to cast his Player of the Year votes, the first lot of votes being cast for the season. Our top three plays of the week from round one of the WAFLW. And also, we've got a little taster for what's to come on our Thursday mega preview as the WAFL men's season is days away from returning. You can check us out on our socials, Facebook and Instagram. And as I said before, you can watch on Around the WAFL and the WA Sporting Hub YouTube channels, respectively, and also your podcast service. Okay. Let's get right down to business, Rothy. No wasting time, because we have got a star of the West Perth Football Club who 600 days ago played her last WAFLW game. She suffered a PCL injury which kept her out of all of 2025, but she came back in great style in the 11-point win over Subiaco on the weekend. She got the number 21 on her back, but she was number one in the Falcons' eyes. She steered the Falcons to victory over last year's preliminary finalists. Her name is Katherine Bennett, and she's good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Kat, hello and congratulations.
Hello, that was a really nice intro.
Hope you like that. You know, a bit of a touch of the Mater Day alumni, given that we both went to the same high school. But what you have done over there at West Perth has been sensational. First of all, before we get to the game, of course, you spent a long time out with injury, but you had a bit of a role in the West Perth coaches box during the season. Tell our fans a bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously not being able to play, I was trying to get myself involved in the club however I could, because it's really tough on the sidelines and trying to feel in part of the team. So I know I saw you up in the boxes on the Swans game in Basso. I did a couple of games. I did the stats. So as a forward, I was looking at like inside forward entries, where were they coming from? But I also was doing some work in the back line as well, because obviously a good forward will get to know their back line and to know, I guess, how to beat them from other teams. So I was doing other things like contested marks, where the I guess the spots where the other teams are beating us in the back 50, and all this kind of stats was just being relayed back to the coaches to help kind of guide them in where to kind of coach them in the moment on quarter times and half times. So yeah, that was probably the main role I had in the box.
Congrats on the win. Talk us through it. You've beaten Subiaco the last two times, going back to last year. That's a side who've only lost a couple of games, and we're up there last year in the competition. So talk us through it, and you must have been really impressed with some of the younger players that come through, the likes of Arabella Nelson, who comes in 16 years of age and looked right at home on WAFLW debut.
Yeah, I knew she's so promising. She's an absolute gun. I was honoured to be able to present her with a Guernsey at the start of the game, and I guess I would mirror it to you as, I'm going to try and enjoy to play with her as much as I can now, because she is on track to be an AFL superstar, in my eyes anyway, and I think our club's eyes. So, yeah, she slotted right in, and I forget how young she is sometimes. She just carries herself so confidently on the field. You just think she's the same age as a lot of the women out there. But yeah, no, it's feeling good. It's looking good. I think the momentum from the end of last year is really carrying through, but almost stronger as well. We've got a lot of girls come up from other clubs and also from our youth. So very exciting times ahead, and I can't even put it into words how stoked I am to be back playing.
Well, the excitement, really told out there on the field, didn't it? You had plenty of possessions and a goal in that win over Subiaco. Kat Bennett from the West Perth Football Club joining us here on Around the Waffle. Looking at this game in retrospect, your backline really made, the midfielders and forwards' day quite easy, especially in the second half, because you held Subiaco to just 4 behinds in that second half, which paved the way for the victory. They really worked their tails off in keeping the Lions forwards, who did lack a valuable weapon in that forward 50 to pretty much nothing in that second half.
Yeah, I feel like that's been consistent from our team. I feel like our backline is just quietly big achievers. They are very solid back there. They just work so well as a unit. They talk so well. And you just got players that just thrive individually, but within the team, and they all work so well together. I know Jess Roper had a stunner of a game, getting best on ground for us in the game just gone with, I think, 25 disposals. Lily, she's always a gun. She also had a 50th game as well against Subi, and she's just always solid with the likes of Erin O'Brien and Stacey, obviously Bella being back there, and just the girls that all swapped through. I think Dottie had a run down there. Nico, there's a couple of girls, but they're all just strong in their own, would win a one-on-one, and they just worked so well as a unit. Yeah, it's nice to have a backline that's just so reliable. They're going to put up a big fight.
And at the other end of the ground, it was a low-scoring game, but Zoe Harger only had the couple disposals but did kick a goal. What has she brought to the group, obviously coming across from South Fremantle, where she was the leading goal kicker quite comfortably? What has she brought on and off the field, and you must be stoked to have her, and even if she's not firing week to week, it will free up other forwards when the best defender's taking her.
Well, that's the thing. I think as playing a sider on the field, she does take, the other team's strongest back. So it allows us to kind of play more freely. But I think what she brings on the field, she almost doubles it off the field. She's such a good character. I love her. She's so funny. She gets up and about. She's part of the leadership squad for us this year. I think that just shows how much of an impact she had on the girls, coming obviously from South Freo and already coming into a leadership role. The girls respect her so much, and she's just always bubbly and ready for a chat, always up for a laugh. Which I think kind of can show the respect that we all have for her. So, she's an amazing human and player, so it was a huge win.
Full of great people over there at the West Perth Football Club, isn't it? And I think the morale, it's safe to say, is pretty much on a high after that. And, the love that they showed you in your return from injury, and all the players that have adapted so beautifully to the roles that they have been assigned to by Coach Steve Chapman. Before we let you go, Kat, big test coming up on Friday against Claremont, of course, with the Tigers losing to Swan Districts. Can you double the pain for the Tigers?
Oh, look, you never know. We're a process-focused team. The outcome's always just a bonus, but I'd like to say we'd like to get the W, but I think for us, the main focus is to play our brand of footy, go in with the plan that we had set out, and if we do that, I think we can beat any team in the comp, but we just got to stick with our process and do what our coaches guide us to do.
It's going to be a great game in 5 nights' time. Good Friday under lights against the reigning premiers. Kat, we really appreciate your time here on Around the Waffle. Great win on Saturday, and all the best for the big one under lights against Claremont.
Thanks, Kat.
No, thank you so much, guys.
That was Kat Bennett, superstar of the West Perth Football Club, making her return 600 days after her last game. Great story, isn't it, over there at West Perth? We love to see those stories in the Waffle W. That they just inspire the WA football community. And for her determination, because I've followed her recovery very closely, having gone to the same high school as Kat Bennett, her recovery is nothing short of inspirational. You can't take away the determination that she's got in her eyes.
Yeah, it's a real team lifter when someone comes back. Mention the recruits and the debutants, but when someone comes back after 600 days, it's a long time. So credit to her, and hopefully it's the start of a successful season ahead.
Absolutely. We'll recap that game in a little bit more detail after the break here on Around the Waffle, our Monday recap show off the back of round 1 of the ATCO WAFLW season. We'll break down all the games, and later on, my right-hand man Rothy is going to cast his first lot of votes for 2026, the Around the Waffles WAFLW Player of the Year. We'll be back.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle on the Around the Waffle and WA Sporting Hub YouTube channels, an amalgamation with Front Row Screens and Associates, and of course on your podcast service. Huge thanks to all our supporters for season 2026. Front Row Screens, of course, District Promotions, Barry Miles and his team, Grant's Car Stereo, of course, and Sullivan Logistics, who are proud supporters of the WAFL season for 2026. Let's get into the action, Rothy. We'll start things off with the Sullivan Logistics Stadium double header, and East Perth, they were dead and buried late in the second term, but some great work by the likes of Ferns, Price and Ugal Haywood ultimately steered them to a shock 2-point win over Peel Thunder in their first game of the year. I'll tell you what, this Royals side, they're going to be brimming with confidence after that second half, but it's going to be all about how they sustain it following what was a pretty tough first half.
Yeah, and they proved me wrong. Obviously, I tipped against East Perth, but 2-point win in the end of that first of the doubleheaders. So, inaccurate kicking and tough conditions. Obviously, resilience as well to come back from 2 goals down at quarter time after not scoring. That speaks a lot of the growth of the team over the off-season.
I'll tell you what, Layla Ferns, really exemplified how much maturity and growth is there in that team. She played a great role, 27 disposals, and laid down 2 great tackles, quite crucial in the context of this game. And would it be fair to say that, I think we talked about this in our Thursday preview, that the Thunder last year relied heavily on Chloe Wrigley, perhaps too much to an extent, and didn't get enough out of their young players. We saw the same thing on Saturday.
Yeah, we did. Had a little bit more support for the likes of Ebony Bilsich, who we did highlight in the preview as well. So
10 inside 50s to add to that as well.
Yeah, had a bit more support from Charlie Fletcher as well, 21 disposals. Cassie Davidson also got up to the 20 mark. So, not amazing numbers, but even though Wrigley got below what is lofty standards, she still kicked 2 goals on the day and had 17 disposals. So I thought she was probably, if not the Thunder's best.
Yeah, she certainly was. No, I will agree with you on that. She did get support from Collard, and we mustn't forget as well a couple of others that played some good roles. Georgia Tate, who got a couple of possessions as well and got 4 inside 50s, but also Ebony Bilsich, you talked about her role, 10 inside 50s as well. She continuously got those repeat inside 50 entries when the game was still pretty much in the balance. If it wasn't for Bilsich's work rate, maybe the Thunder still wouldn't have had a chance of winning, because East Perth, they had all the momentum after halftime.
Yeah, they did. We spoke to her last year. She's obviously a super reliable player, as Bilsich, very, very experienced player. So leading the way in that department, and unfortunately it wasn't enough for the Thunder in the end.
Would you think that this win for East Perth is going to do a lot, because this is a young side, mostly 20, 21-year-olds, pretty similar to East Fremantle, and we'll touch on them a little bit later, but this young Royal side is going to have a good future ahead of them. Okay, they got the bye this week, and that'll give them some time to reflect on this win, look at the positives, and look at how their game plan could work against other sides that are chasing a spot in the 4.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You probably want to play again after a win like that, and obviously that's not in their control, but momentum's an interesting one. So they'll have the week off after a win, but having said that, they're going to take a win to start things off. So if you ask them that prior to round 1, they would have taken it no matter what happened in the aftermath of round 2, which is a bye.
Not just Layla Ferns who started as well. I think Elisara would take that win very gladly as well. 23 disposals, and also Layla Ferns, as we mentioned, and Lucy Greenwood. Man, she's got a safe pair of hands, 8 marks and 7 tackles as well. She enforced the pressure emphatically on the Thunder.
Little pocket rocket. She was in the state 18s last year, one of the only East Perth representatives, and didn't get drafted in the end, but as I said last week, an opportunity for her to have a another full WAFLW season under a belt, another year older, so which won't hurt the Royals' depth.
And we'll stay with the theme of boilovers because the second match of the Sullivan Logistics doubleheader was a big shock. Subiaco, last year's preliminary finalists, who were expected to start with a big run early, they fell to West Perth, who would have seen that coming, by some 11 points, 4-6 to 2-7. The Lions held to just 4 behinds after half-time, and West Perth stamped their authority in the game in ruthless fashion.
Yeah, we say who would have picked that, but what about the tips from last week?
Yes. I'm not going to hear the end of that now. But credit to West Perth, that they played the better wet weather brand.
They did, and the big three of Steen, Shepherd, and Petrevsky still had 30 plus disposals. Petrevsky just below that on 29, but they just couldn't get much forward, capping that off, I guess, on the top of that. So round one, we don't want to make too many headlines and read into it too early, but just those concerns about Subiaco's drafted players, particularly Olivia Warmoran, who's that spearhead, not just last year but the years before that, potentially exposed. But having said that, they didn't get belted. It was 11 points. But they would have probably, expected better in the round one outing.
No, you're absolutely right. 2-7 obviously doesn't present, a pretty picture in a losing side, but only 11 points. West Perth only scored 4 goals, 6, but the scoreboard doesn't really reflect on how the game panned out, didn't it? Subiaco, they had one less weapon in that forward line. Obviously, they had to rely on Layla Quinn-Schofield. She only had 1 goal from 14 disposals. And to me, it was the back line that really made the difference in the end, because Subiaco usually have some good weapons. Their midfielders can shift up forward, but the back line really starved the Lions of opportunities.
And as we said to Kat Bennett, 16-year-old Arabella Nelson, so in a couple of years she could be right up there in AFLW ranks. It's interesting, like Subiaco of last year kind of remind me of West Perth this year, of the young talent coming up. So you rattle off a couple of names, Nicholson, as I said, Nelson there. They've got Mia Robus.
Lexi Strachan as well, who had 19.
Yep, exactly right. The Van Heaver sisters. So I feel like they're almost the Subi of last year in terms of those 18s players, not carrying the load, but obviously, the talent is hard to miss. So, West Perth making an early statement.
I think it's a bit too early to make that comparison, because obviously we're only in round one of the season, and you look at the underage talent that they've got, which you do present a very good case for in making that comparison. But, a bit too early in the season to make a read of that, where they're going to be, because they've got a couple of big opponents coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I guess those players will go out through, obviously, state duties and the like, so it might not be a fully gauged thing that we can get a grasp of until midway through the season, but just some early signs to watch out for.
And some very good signs indeed, and not just, of course, Bennett, but also the likes of Strachan getting amongst the possessions as well. And you talked about as well Arabella Nelson. She felt right at home in the WAFLW system, and it won't be too long before she gets to the next level if she keeps up performances like that. Grand final rematch time at Revo Fitness Stadium, and who would have thought that Swan Districts would hand Claremont an absolute belting? And I say that emphatically. 41 points to margin, 7-9 to 1-4. Claremont could not have gotten off to a worse start to the season than what we saw on Saturday.
Credit to you for picking this as well. I'm
Thank
not
you
sure
very
maybe
much.
by this margin, but if you have told me Swan Districts would win the grand final rematch by 40 plus with no Karis Daddario, wouldn't have believed it one bit.
I didn't anticipate the margin. I thought it was going to be very close. Wet conditions, obviously the great leveller, but they came out all guns blazing in the first quarter, and they didn't really look challenged afterwards.
And it was 7 consecutive goals, because Claremont actually did kick the first goal. So the one goal they kicked was through their captain Rachel Ortleb, who kicked it in the first quarter.
What about the celebration as well?
Yeah, I mean, not sure how much often should we whipping that out, obviously, with what happened after that. But I don't mind it. Would be interesting to know what the meaning was behind that, as I said on the call. But yeah, Swan Districts, they just went to work. Jamie Henry had 32 disposals. She had 10 tackles, or 11 tackles rather, and also a goal. So she was, probably clearly best on ground. And a couple of their recruits, Barber, Ash Sharp, kicked 3 goals. Could have had a handful if she kicked straighter, but you can't be too critical. But they were across the board very good. I was very impressed by a couple of other players as well. Tasman Barros, when she went to the ruck, looked really athletic. You could just go about the whole lineup. Chloe Riley kicked a goal in new colours. Naomi Baker started the game well. Everyone contributed, which was the main thing for Swan Districts.
Absolutely. And think about it, with Alana Barber, one of 3 players for Swans who played their first game. So a lot of new faces in that side, and they were able to take it to Claremont's vastly experienced lineup. That, to me, was the biggest surprise. I thought on paper, I'll tip Swan Districts. I thought Claremont on paper were the better list. But Jason Burton, as he said on Around the Waffle on location last Thursday, when I travelled down to Steel Blue Oval to see their preparations, their young side brings plenty of hunger, don't they? And they bring that added desire to do well, not just for the experienced faces, but also the coaching staff who got themselves going once again. And you talk about Henry, Lauren Quaife in the ruck was sensational as well. And think about it, those tackles that Jamie Henry laid all really turned the tide in Swan District's favour because the pressure she applied on the ball carrier was just immense.
And the pressure that they applied as a midfield group to hold Jamie Harkin just 10 disposals in the end as well can't be underestimated. She only had about 3 or 4 to half time, and we're talking about probably the greatest WAFLW player, certainly in the WAFLW era. So, yeah, they did really well considering she was best on ground in the grand final last year. So, for Claremont, and I was on the call and I was saying, I'm not going to make any too outlandish calls here because they could come back and win this. They've done it so many times at Revo Fitness Stadium, but it wasn't to be. So, but Jack Schwartz seemed pretty calm. It was round 1, so, a long season ahead, and they're such professionals. But one player I want to highlight was Claire Ortlip in the back half. She had over 20 disposals, and I think if she wasn't there, they could have lost this game by 10 goals. Honestly, she was just marking everything, holding her own. Okay, sharp kick 3 goals, but she was playing at the back a little bit. Not taking away from the 3 goals that she did kick on return. But, yeah, I think if Claire Ortlip wasn't there, it could have been really, really ugly.
No, you're absolutely right there. Claire Ortlip really was that steadying barometer for the Tigers in what was pretty tough conditions against a very strong opposition in the form of Swan Districts, 20 disposals and obviously 5 marks and 4 tackles, as you alluded to. But the Dara Kerr Cup went to Swan Districts. They are out for redemption, and their mission began on the right note. But then we go to the People's Derby, the later game down at Fremantle Community Bank Oval, and if you thought Swan Districts hammering Claremont was big, South Fremantle then took it one step further, holding East Fremantle to 4 behinds and going on to win by 49 points. And Ash Gomes, who was the leading story heading into the game, had the last laugh against their old side.
Yeah, she did. She was at equal high, 20 disposals, which was match high disposal count on the ground. And anytime you keep a team goalless in a derby, let alone any game, you're going to win the game, and they did comfortably. So couldn't have asked for a better start for South Fremantle, and tough conditions. And I think for East Fremantle, I think they'll just be happy it's done, to be honest. I think there was such a big build up to it, and so many things during the off season where they've clearly not had the result they wanted, but I think for their sake, the result, the game coming and going is probably, the best thing for them to move forward.
Well, even, when it's only 4 behinds, there's always 1 or 2 positives that you can find. Some would say, you'd be hard-pressed to find a positive about a side that has kicked just 4 behinds, but that's not really the case, You talk about Noah McNaughton. She applied herself to the contest all afternoon. So did Amber Canane, who had 16 and 20 disposals, respectively. And Jay Flynn, I thought she was terrific as well. Tiani Teakle was okay. She sort of dropped off toward the end of the game. I was there at Fremantle Oval covering this one for Around the Waffle, and she did drop off toward the end of the game, and South Fremantle, their legs just didn't tire. They ran hard at the football all afternoon, and I reckon with, Pierre Folletti going on as coach for a second season and teaching them very well, I reckon South Fremantle could be on for a big year, maybe a side that could be, along with Claremont, usually the highest scoring side in the competition.
Yeah, they've recruited for the now, that's for sure. And that's what we highlighted going into this game, is that East Fremantle might not win, but they're setting up, they've got longer sort of goals in mind. So, I think someone like Teakle and the whole defence, when the ball's going in there that much, there's only so much you can do, especially towards the back end. So, I was really impressed over Annalie Polomino. She was best on ground with 18 disposals and a couple of goals. She's setting herself for a big year ahead.
So is Pippa Sedaris as well, who kicked her 2 goals inside 50 as well. And when you're looking at that count, only 5 more inside 50, so maybe the scoreboard, like the West Perth Subiaco game, is not a complete reflection on how the game panned out. Okay, East Fremantle, they were able to work the ball from their midfield out toward their attacking 50, but they just couldn't convert their chances in front of goal, or were starved of chances in front of goal because of a strong opposition backline in the form of South Fremantle. So 33-27 obviously is not a reflection or a detriment to East Fremantle, because they got some inside 50s, but yeah, they just didn't have the same effect as some of the players that were in the side last year.
Yeah, and just having a look at some of the MROs that have come through, Jasmine Beasley was charged with attempting to strike during the second quarter of that one. But that's been dismissed.
Oh, that's good news.
So, obviously we expect it to be a feisty game in that sense. But yeah, a few others to to look out for, but luckily no footage that she'll miss.
Yeah, no suspension, which is good news, and to the club's relief as well. So round 1 has concluded in the ATCO WAFLW season. The first round winners were East Perth, West Perth, Swan Districts and South Fremantle. And of course, we'll preview round 2 on Thursday before the big action takes place. All 4 matches on Good Friday as part of round 2 of the ATCO WAFLW season. Okay. Hold your breath, Rothy, because after the break, we're going to cast the Player of the Year votes for the first time in 2026. Rothy's been tasked once again with the WAFLW season votes this year, and later on, we're going to have our top 3 plays of the week. The big moments put together by the Around the Waffle team that stood out in round 1 of the ATCO WAFLW season. Stay where you are, more shortly.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate.
On your left. Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle, on the Around the Waffle YouTube channel, along with the WA Sporting Hub YouTube channel, which is an amalgamation of Front Row Screens and Associates, and also on your podcast provider. Rothy, before we get to the votes, an MRO report has just come through courtesy of WA Football. A couple of leading players have just been suspended. Tell us who they are.
Yeah, Chloe Wrigley charged with kneeing an opponent during the third quarter of the WAFLW game against East Perth. So she'll get 3 matches. She can get it down to 2 with an early plea. So pretty big news that she'll be ruled out of the Durham medal race, which, Peel, might not be headed for a massive season in terms of the win-loss. We'll have to wait and see. But having said that, she was right out there last year. Crystal Petrovsky has been, she was in some hot water as well, the reigning Durham medalist, but she's been let off for engaging in rough contact in the fourth quarter, but luckily no missing of footy there. And Lucy Greenwood, also on that East Perth versus Peel game, was charged with attempting to strike. She'll get 1 match or can get reprimanded with an early play. But the main one there, Chloe Wrigley, will miss at least 2 weeks of football, possibly 3.
Yeah, that rules her out of the Durham medal race. So she was touted as one of the early front runners for that particular medal, and now her chance of getting that is over, sadly. Good news for Subiaco, obviously, with Crystal Petrovsky not being suspended following that incident against West Perth. Now, we love this part of the show because obviously the Around the Waffle Player of the Year votes is always a big talking point around the water coolers in the waffle world, and it's WAFLW Player of the Year voting time. Rothy, you've been tasked with that this season. Let's get to the votes.
Yeah, we'll go with one, and it's somewhat timely, and just because she's been suspended, that doesn't mean she can't still get votes here, and that's Chloe Wrigley, 1 vote, 17 disposals, 2 goals against East Perth, so bit of a double-edged sword there with her being ruled out, but having said that, she still gets on the leaderboard. In true Chloe Wrigley fashion. 2 votes, the feel-good story of the weekend. Our guest, Kat Bennett, for West Perth. Her return was remarkable that she was out there, let alone to contribute as well. 3 votes from South Fremantle. Annalie Polomino was best on ground in that Fremantle derby where she kicked 2 goals and 18 disposal. Really set the tone for the Bulldogs and, performed well all day. 4 votes in the losing side. Claire Ortlip, as I said earlier, I think they could have lost by 10 goals if she wasn't down there, playing a really vital role and was just everywhere for Claremont. And then 5 votes in that same game. Hard to go past. Who else but Jamie Henry, 31 disposals, above 10 tackles, also hit the scoreboard for the Swans' first of the day as well. And I think it's going to be the first of many times she's on not only our leaderboard, but many leaderboards when it comes to Dara Kerr and other awards around the comp.
The first Top Gun of the year, Jamie Henry of Swan Districts. I reckon the fans of the Black Ducks will like that one very, very much. We'll have our first leaderboard after round 4 of the Around the Waffles WAFLW Player of the Year. Same with the Waffle Men's as well. Okay, something new here on Around the Waffle. I'll give you some highlights of what stood out to the Around the Waffle team and to the fans most throughout the weekend. It is Around the Waffle's top 3 plays of the week. Round 1 of the WAFLW, and Rothy, you know the old saying, sometimes the price is right, just like that classic game show. Well, East Perth, down by a kick midway through the last term against Peel Thunder. They were down but not out, courtesy of one Alyssa Price, who kicked the winning goal with minutes to go, and that would be the match winner.
How good, hey? Anytime you do that, you're going to be a hero, and let alone to do it in the first game of the season. So, won't be forgetting her anytime soon.
Yes, Alyssa Price with the match winner. That's number 3 in our plays of the weekend. Number 2, guess who's back? Back again. Kat is back. Tell a friend. 636 days. As we said before, that's the feel-good story of the weekend. And Kat Bennett, from a long-term injury to, play at her best once again. Almost 20 possessions and a very telling goal. I think that's worthy of a mention in our plays of the week.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we've highlighted it already, but quite an inspiration.
Absolutely, and West Perth fans will be very happy with that, no doubt. And Swan Districts fans will be happy with this as well. We've highlighted her several times throughout the show. Claremont versus Swan Districts, the grand final rematch. Little did we know it would turn into the Jamie Henry show.
Yeah, absolutely. And she fired on all cylinders as well. She got in and under. She did the hard work, but also was able to get rewarded with that goal in the end. And didn't stop even when the result may have been in the bag. She just kept going as if there was nothing in it.
Sensational stuff from the sensational Swan, Jamie Henry, the number 1 play of this week here on Around the Waffle. Of course, that'll be every Monday across the 2026 season. We'll take one final break. When we do come back, we'll give you a taster of what's to come on Thursday's double preview show.
Hey Siri, how to connect Bluetooth to Mac truck?
Sullivan 2, what's your position?
Just a midfielder, mate. On your left.
Oh, come on, get out of the way.
Car Stereo Morley, proudly supplying and fitting quality car stereos for over 15 years, selling top name brands like Alpine, Focal, Rockford Fosgate. From a simple upgrade to complete custom systems, stop in and see Grant and the boys at 61 Russell Street, Morley, or visit us online at carstereo.com.au.
And you're back with us here on Around the Waffle. Paul Persick and Ethan Roth with you. Thursday, Rothy. Oh, it's a big show. It's a big one. We've got a double preview coming up of Waffle and WAFLW. So much footy action, and we're only at the start.
Yeah, scattered across the weekend as well, being Easter, so it's always an exciting time of year to kick off the men's side of things, and then get into round 2 of the women's.
And on location as well. We were around all the clubs during the pre-season in the Waffle men's competition. We're going to take a look at Subiaco, and we'll be chatting with Jared Schofield on location. This was during the pre-season, recorded during the pre-season, and put together for Thursday's show when we look ahead to their clash on Good Friday against East Perth. Jared Schofield, not necessarily a new line, but an old line who has been there, done that in the past.
Back to the future, hey?
Yes.
He's so successful and obviously comes from AFL experience where he's taken a couple of players with him as well. So, looking forward to everyone tuning into that.
And we also have some of our WAFL season picks. We did that for the WAFLW on Thursday, and now it's time for the WAFL picks as well. And I think we just want to warn our viewers and listeners, they may surprise everybody.
They may, but that's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Absolutely. All the fun of the fair, as they say.
Absolutely. So, hopefully some that won't come back to bite us, but that comes with the risk that the predictions do.
Yeah, just like your tip of Claremont being undefeated last year, but they did win the premiership, so there you go. That has a silver lining at the end.
Sword, hey?
And also, speaking of, your Colts report is coming back as well on the Thursday, of course, previewing round 1 of the Colts, and you're in the thick of it right from the outset.
Yeah, multiple games this weekend, which we're really looking forward to on YouTube, calling the Colts. So, really exciting season ahead, kicking off with Peel and East Fremantle on Easter Thursday, if you can call it that. Kicking off the long weekend down in Mandurah. So, excited to cover the Colts both here on the show and then also in the games themselves.
Rothy, we'll see you Thursday before you head out to Mandurah.
Love your work, Paul. See you then.
Sensational stuff. And viewers and listeners, we appreciate your company here on Around the WAFL. We look ahead now to a huge Easter long weekend of football. We'll have a full preview of WAFLW and WAFL as well. And we'll also go on location to the Subiaco Football Club. If you want to follow us, go to our Facebook and Instagram page. You can check out some of our great social content there. And of course, if you miss any of the episodes, don't worry. You can check them out anytime, any place, anywhere on the Around the WAFL and WA Sporting Hub YouTube channels, as well as your podcast servers. Have a great week of football, and we'll see you on Thursday for a double mega preview.